How's it going? All right, so one is, hi, David Soto. Yes, I've been around for a little bit, been doing cybersecurity for a little bit longer than I'd like to admit. Today we're going to talk about Amazon and how we've actually implemented cybersecurity in our OT environment. We're going to take off on just one use case, but first, everybody knows Amazon as Ring, and a few other pieces, right? And so I want to first cover is who are we, right? The exact group that I cover and the exact area where I do, right? And what it is that we secure and what is our use case, I'll go over, and then we'll just leave it for questions, and you can email me, hit me up on LinkedIn or however. Sound good? So first, you guys all have probably seen something, picture like this out there, right? This is what one of our FCs look like, and literally, it is football fields large. It is huge. I have some that are doing millions of packages a day, or what we call promises. And that is, as you order that whatever, let's say mic or remote, we ship it to you and we get it to you within a day. Well, there's a way we do it, and this is part of how we do it. So part of that is we have robotics, we do have drones, we do have people, we have IoT, we have OT, we do have semis, of course, and delivery drivers. And now we have drones, right? So as you guys are sitting here thinking about, hey, what about safety and security within the environment? Well, think about that 100-pound drone falling on your head, right? Those are some of the worries that we have as we're starting to build this out for the environment. So where are we? We are global. We are not here in the US only. We are in 3,400 and some odd sites globally. And I say some odd because we spin up and spin down sites all across the globe in real time, right? It's as we need them, we start bringing them up. During COVID, guess what? We spun up a whole thousands of sites rapidly. And with that, that means that we're having to do things cookie cutter and fast to meet these deadlines. So, give you an idea, some of the assets in the environment, right? So we have hand scanners, printers, thin client servers, right? We have robotics, which are those robotic arms, which are the mechatronics that we have in the environment, and with that means third-party vendors, right? All of those all exist within the environment and have to work individually and holistically. That also means that each one of those is considered, way we do it is we call them work cells. Each work cell is an individualized environment to keep it isolated in and of itself. By doing so allows us to some flexibility, and also is how we leverage AWS, right? And for us, it's not AWS as the cloud as you guys all see it. We see it as our brother and sister, which is our data center. So again, remember this, trying to get it out. Now, how many people order and you get like same day service, right? Yeah, I see a whole bunch of hands. You like that, right? Yeah, give you an idea, that normally is in what we call a same day center, right? And that is actually, we've already have that package ready for you because we know you're gonna want it. And we're using things like big data, go figure. And when you get the presentation, I have the link there that'll go over the whole way we do it. Now, of course, I don't have to tell you guys that this is what we live in, right? We have to not worry about confidentiality as much. Yeah, we do. But availability and safety, which what I don't have on here, are what are my primary concerns. When I start talking to a robotics engineering group about how they're developing this new robotics or this new environment, I ask them, hey, one of the first questions I always ask is, hey, what about when that arm wants to decide to take somebody else's arm off or somebody's head off, right? Because I actually have to worry about that. I don't know how many of you guys have to worry about that robot arm taking somebody off. The drive units aren't as bad as you think they are, because the drive units, we wear Cerberus vests, is what we call them, and you can walk around the environment and the robots all stick away. However, the robotic arms, the pick and stow units, we have different code names for them, of course, but all of those are what I worry about, because all of those can cause bodily harm. And we want to make sure all our employees stay safe, all 1.6 million of them. And yes, it is 1.6 million people. So when you start to hear about, hey, we're laying off, it isn't as much as you think it is if we're still in the thousands. So also add into this, we're talking about availability and integrity. Well, For us, you take down a site, that's millions of packages a day, right? We're delivering constantly. I've actually walked into quite a few of our sites. You walk in and we start off with at maybe 4 in the morning, people start getting up, start moving things around, start shipping them out. By the time it hits a delivery center at like 6 in the morning, guess what? By about 10, 11, it's empty. And you're going, hey, what happened? Well, all those packages are on their way to you, right? So, best practices for IoT. First, tell me who doesn't believe in network segmentation. How many of you guys are former firewall guys? Yeah, we all know Juniper firewalls, Cisco firewalls, Fortinet firewalls. I think they're here, right? Checkpoint, you name them, right? There we go. And yes, you need to do a risk assessment, you need to segment. Yeah, we all agree. Yeah, that needs to be done. Yes, we need to have an inventory. If you don't know what you have, you don't know how to protect it. We all agree to that, right? We all agree that we need to have IAM. Now, we know IPCs and PLCs don't quite log in like people, do they? How do we solve that problem? Patch management. Oh, yeah, that one's a fun one. Talk with me with some liquor in me. We can talk about how to do patch management, right? This is a problem that, yes, we still try and solve, we still work through, but we have ways to solve it better, faster, if you start to use and leverage some of the newer technologies, right? And that's where we're driving to the bleeding edge. Now next, encrypt data at rest. We all agree that needs to be done. I don't think IPCs do that very well, do they? Okay, next up, encrypt data in transit. Guess what? We can do that. Harden the securely managed. Yes, that is available. Auditing and monitoring. Guess what? If you own the data center, you have a little bit of big data available. And then incident response needs to be there. So these are the best practices. You've seen them from AWS. You've seen them, and I know you guys live and breathe these and you have questions about them. And then business continuity. Well, when you start to build thousands of sites, guess what happens if a site goes down? Spin up another one. Just move on to the next one. We build these environments to ensure that we can literally compartmentalize each site and allow it to drop off and just use the next one. Which means that remote control you wanted to buy from Amazon, yes, we have it at multiple FCs and we can easily just pull it from either one of them and send it to you. And I'm sure how many people have had, hey, your package will be delayed a day. I know, yep. Guess what? Same here. So here's the case study. So today we're going to talk about our SLAM printers. So this way you guys all understand, we take your customer trust extremely important. It is the utmost importance to us, so much so that even in the fulfillment center, no one knows your package is for you all the way through until this printer. Literally your barcode, and they pick and they stow and they put it in the box, they seal it, and we send it along to this printer. When it reaches this printer is when the label or the camera, guess what? Camera reads the bar scan and says, hey, this is for John Doe. It's supposed to weigh, say 10 pounds or 10.2 pounds, and slaps your label on it. That is how we keep your information secure. It is nowhere, anywhere in the facility until it reaches that pot. So, mind you, at that spot, you don't even know who's the guy that it's going to, and you don't even know what's in it. So then from here, it goes off to the delivery center, and then it's on its way to you. So this is how we previously used to do security, right? It's very simple. Workforce management system or warehouse management services sitting in AWS, of course. Have a local firewall, have a VPN connection. Everything is in one logical zone. That doesn't work. So now what we started to do was to start to deploy in this way. You'll notice I'm using boxes and big items here. Reason is, can't go into code names, as you guys can all guess, but we start to deploy some of the security controls into the environment. That includes implementation of segmentation, right? How do we start to segment? We segment the IPC from the PLC. Why? Because, well, some people have said, hey, if I can compromise in between the two, I can start to do some fun stuff. So we start to do that. We start to implement in their segmentation into the work cell. So that means that SLAM printer environment is completely segregated from the pick and stow robot, from the robotic drive units, from the other things zooming by your head at 30 miles an hour, right? All of those are completely segmented apart and individualized. They may have multiple firewalls. Let's just say I have quite a few of these firewalls all throughout the environment and industrial computers all across. And it may require that I have to have segmentation, and I may have overlapping IP space inside there. But they're all segmented. Why? Safety's first. I need to ensure that they're segregated and kept secure. Next, asset inventory. Well, how can I do that? Well, guess what? AWS, thank you, Ryan, gives me a nice, quick way that I can, for my AWS assets, have a nice inventory, very quick and easy, right? But in the same manner, I need to deploy scanning solutions, not only for my IT environment, which means I can actively scan them, but also for my OT environment. I need to passively identify assets that are living inside that environment. So I have inside, either tapping or with flow data, I'm gathering that data information and I'm taking that asset inventory. That's how I'm completing that. And I've have back-end private data warehouse where I'm actually storing all my asset inventory, and I can easily use that and leverage that. Next, I need to do identity and access management. How do I do that? I'm sure everybody here has heard of certificate pinning, right? And being able to use the device authentication from the device in the IPC and the PLC and use that to leverage to connect back into my AWS instances. We can easily do that because we're using AWS. And guess what? We have KMS and all that all built in. We can just leverage those and it all becomes like code. Next, patch management. Well, this is when we start getting the fun stuff, right? In AWS, a lot easier, right? I can easily patch inside AWS because I can slaughter the herd and rebuild it. Believe me, Log4j was when I got to see AWS in its grandeur, because think about it, I was able to slaughter and rebuild in what took a lot of us a long time. I'm just saying that when I had to go out and talk to all the different manufacturers about how am I going to patch their individual IPCs or PLCs that were affected by it, took me a little bit longer to, one, find the vendor in whatever country it was, let alone find out, hey, are they vulnerable, and then go through it. Whereas with AWS, I was able to patch it, not instantly, but pretty quick. Now, where we're starting to see some of the leverages of software-based PLCs and IPCs is where we can patch in those environments, right? And that's what we're starting to look at and we're starting to leverage. Not there yet, we're working on it, look at it coming soon. But because we're also starting to deploy Outpost and other AWS types technologies into our environment, we're able to start to look at how we can use Greengrass to deploy onto a device that's sitting there in the work cell and patch it. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I can patch my work cell within months versus years as it takes today when I have to go through and physically certify for safety the environment. That is a plus, right? And that's where I can leverage this technology to get there and get it going. Me personally, from a security side, we're starting to look at it. We're starting to figure out how can we continue moving this forward. IoT Greengrass is the way that we're looking at doing that, and we're looking to put that into the images. We're looking at how else we can start to think of it as code versus physical devices. And of course, that's the other fun part, right? So encryption of data at rest and data in transit, this is where we look at security from, for example, the individualized picture of the package that has your name and your address. That's PII for us, right? That's important to us. However, all along that path, the package scan barcodes aren't that much of importance. So we can scan those all day long and we don't have that much problems. However, when we start to scan those packages to make sure that one is the weight okay, because we didn't accidentally put a hand scanner in there and sent it to you, which I know that's happened at times, or that somebody didn't accidentally put something purposely in there. So that's where we make sure that we encrypt those camera images, as well as any other PII information when it's at rest. However, we also do encrypt it when it goes up to the cloud. So, securely managing. This is where it gets to be a little bit, I know I keep saying fun a lot, but it does get to be a little fun in relation to how we can manage these devices. We do leverage tools like SSM, et cetera, to manage even physical devices. I have servers that are physically managed through my AWS instance, so that way I can leverage how they're staying up, how we can access them remotely, how we can manage them. That becomes very important. Last but not least, well, not last, but close, auditing and monitoring and incident response. Because all these systems are logging locally within the environment, we can also leverage how we send all that data up to our S3 buckets. Guess, go figure, right? And when we're doing overlapping IP space, because we are leveraging S3 buckets that we don't care where it came from, we can easily tag it as it's being ingested. We can easily start to then build that into our data lake and allow us to respond to an incident quite easily. What I don't cover in this presentation is our remote access solution. We are leveraging sending everything into AWS, and then from there, you have access into our environment. But you have individualized access directly to the work cell that you need access to. So we segment it. Also, we don't allow vendors to directly connect. They have to actually be called by the individual on site. So we do a lot of these individual pieces, not mainly for security, but it's for safety. Because you can't have a vendor logging into that remote work cell when somebody's sitting there. Make sense? I'm seeing heads nod, so I'm taking that as a yes. And that's about the end. I know I went a little bit fast. I did so, but I also wanted to keep it at a little bit of a high level and allow you guys, if you had any questions, if you needed them. And that's about it. Thank you.